Saturday morning, 7:30 sharp, and I'm elbow deep in the guts of my '69 Mustang when Reina glides past in that way she's perfected, like she's floating above the rest of us mortals. Her heels click against the concrete garage floor, each step a tiny announcement that she's got somewhere important to be. "Working early again?" I ask, not looking up from the carburetor that's been giving me trouble for weeks. She pauses, and I can feel her eyes on me. When I finally glance over, she's checking her reflection in the side mirror of my car, adjusting her lipstick with the kind of precision that makes everything else look sloppy by comparison. "Strategy session with Soren," she says, like she's announcing the weather. "He thinks there might be opportunities for advancement. Real opportunities, Porter. The kind that could change everything for us." The way she says "us" makes my stomach tighten. Like she's talking about some distant concept she's not entirely sure she believes in anymore. "On a Saturday? Success doesn't keep bankers' hours." She snaps her compact shut and drops it into her designer purse, the one that cost more than I make in 2 weeks doing security consulting for small businesses around town. Some of us are willing to do what it takes. There it is, the dig. Subtle as a sledgehammer, wrapped in silk. I wipe my hands on an old rag and stand up, my knees protesting the way they always do these days. 39 years old, and my body's already keeping score of every mistake I've made. 3 tours in Afghanistan didn't help, but it's the years since that have really worn me down. The slow grind of trying to build something with a woman who's always looking over my shoulder for something better. "What time will you be back?" "Late. Don't wait up." She's already moving toward her BMW, the one her parents helped her buy because apparently my truck wasn't suitable for a woman of her caliber. I watch her drive away, that familiar knot forming in my chest. It's been growing there for months now, this feeling that I'm losing something I'm not sure I ever really had. Reina's been different lately, distant, distracted, always checking her phone and smiling at messages she never shares. The thing about being a security consultant is that you develop instincts. You learn to notice when things don't add up, when stories have holes, when people are hiding something. And lately, everything about my wife has been setting off alarms I've been trying hard to ignore. I spend the next 2 hours working on the Mustang, letting the familiar rhythm of wrench work quiet my mind. This car has been my project for 3 years now, ever since Reina made it clear that my hobbies were taking up too much space in our marriage. At least the car doesn't lie to me. When something's broken, it shows you exactly what's wrong. Around 10 o'clock, my phone buzzes. Text message from Cambria Torwell, head of security at Meridian Tower where Reina works. Cambria and I go way back. She was military police when I was regular army, and we've kept in touch over the years. She's one of the few people in this town who doesn't treat me like I'm some kind of charity case. "Porter, you might want to check the weekend access logs. Something doesn't look right." My hands stop moving. Cambria doesn't send cryptic messages unless there's a reason. I call her back immediately. "What's going on, Cam?" "Your wife badged in at 8:15 this morning. Building's officially closed on weekends, but executive access is allowed for emergencies or special projects." "Okay." "Soren Valden badged in at 8:10. Same floor. His access shows he's still in the building." The knot in my chest pulls tighter. "How long have they been doing weekend sessions?" "That's what I was hoping you could tell me. This is the first time I've noticed, but I don't usually monitor weekend access unless there's a security concern." "And now there is?" "Porter, I've worked security for 15 years. I know what legitimate business looks like, and I know what doesn't. 2 people, alone in a building, every entrance monitored, no other staff around." She pauses. "I'm not saying anything's happening, I'm just saying you might want to know." I thank her and hang up, staring at my phone like it might offer some other explanation. Some innocent reason why my wife and her boss need complete privacy on a Saturday morning. The smart thing would be to trust her. to believe that Reina's telling the truth about advancement opportunities and strategy sessions. The smart thing would be to go back to working on my car and forget Cambria ever called. Instead, I clean up my tools, shower, and drive downtown to Meridian Tower. The building rises 32 stories above the old harbor district, all glass and steel ambition in a city that's still trying to figure out what it wants to be when it grows up. I park across the street and call Cambria. I'm outside. Parking garage, sub-level 2. I'll meet you at the service elevator. The garage is nearly empty, just a handful of cars scattered across acres of concrete. Reina's BMW sits in her assigned spot, pristine and perfect. Next to it, taking up 2 spaces like some kind of territorial statement, is Soren Valden's black Tesla. Cambria emerges from the elevator wearing weekend clothes, jeans and a sweater that make her look younger than her 32 years. Her expression is grim. "How long have they been up there?" I ask. 2 hours and 17 minutes. "And you're sure no one else is in the building?" "Positive. Weekend skeleton crew doesn't start until noon, and they work the lower floors. Executive level is completely empty, except for..." She gestures toward the elevator. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. We ride up in silence. I've been in Reina's office before, but never like this, never with the building empty and my heart hammering against my ribs like it's trying to escape. The executive floor is all polished hardwood and floor-to-ceiling windows, designed to make you feel either very important or very small, depending on which side of the desk you're sitting on. Cambria leads me to the security office, a small room packed with monitors showing feeds from cameras throughout the building. "I pulled up the footage from this morning," she says, settling into a chair in front of the main console. "I thought you should see it before you decide what to do." The screen shows the executive floor hallway, timestamp reading 8:16 a.m. Reina appears in the frame, walking quickly toward Soren's corner office. She's carrying a small overnight bag I've never seen before. She brought luggage to a strategy meeting? Cambria doesn't answer, just fast-forwards the footage. At 8:18, Soren appears, also carrying a bag. He reaches his office door, looks both ways down the hallway, then lets himself in. "They've been in there ever since," Cambria says quietly. I stare at the screen, watching the empty hallway, waiting for something to happen that will make this make sense. But the hallway stays empty, and the timestamp keeps counting, and the knot in my chest turns into something harder and colder. "Porter, I'm sorry. I know this isn't what you wanted to find." "Show me the camera inside his office." "There isn't one. Executive offices are considered private space. Company policy." "Of course they are. Can't have the peasants watching the kings and queens conduct their business." "But there is a camera in the break room," Cambria continues, "and the conference room, and the supply closet." She cycles through the feeds. Empty, empty, empty. Whatever my wife and her boss are doing, they're doing it in the one room where no one can see them. I need to get up there. "Porter, think about this. If you're wrong..." "I'm not wrong." The words come out harder than I intended. "Look, I appreciate you looking out for me, but I know what this is. I've known for weeks. I just didn't want to admit it." She studies my face for a long moment, then nods. "Executive floor access requires a key card and a code. I can get you up there, but if this goes sideways..." "It won't go sideways. I'm not going to make a scene. I just need to know." "That's a lie, of course. I'm absolutely going to make a scene. But first I need to be sure." The elevator ride to the 30th floor feels like it takes forever and no time at all. When the doors open, the hallway stretches out in front of us like a challenge. Thick carpet muffles our footsteps as we walk toward Soren's office at the far end. His door is closed, but there's light coming from underneath. And voices, low, intimate, the kind of conversation that doesn't belong in a boardroom. I press my ear to the door. "Can't keep doing this," Reina is saying. Porter's getting suspicious. Porter's a small-town security guard who peaked in high school. Soren's voice is smooth, confident, dismissive. He's not going to figure out anything we don't want him to figure out. You don't know him like I do. He's smarter than he looks. Smart enough to give you the life you deserve? Smart enough to understand what you need? There's a pause, and then Reina laughs, a sound I haven't heard her make in months. No, he's not smart enough for that. I step back from the door, my hands shaking. Behind me, Cambria is watching with the kind of professional sympathy that makes everything worse. I've heard enough, I whisper. But as we turn to leave, I hear Soren's voice again, clearer now, like he's moved closer to the door. After the merger goes through, I'll have enough pull to create a position for you in the New York office. We could start over there. Really start over. And Porter? Porter will be a memory, a mistake you made when you were young and didn't know any better. The hallway tilts around me. 3 years of marriage, 6 years together total, reduced to a mistake. A memory to be discarded when something better comes along. Cambria grabs my arm, steering me back toward the elevator. Come on. You don't want to do this here. She's right, but every instinct I have is screaming at me to kick down that door and confront them both. To make them look me in the eye and explain how 6 years of my life became something they can just throw away. Instead, I let her lead me back to the elevator, back down to the garage, back to my truck, where I sit in the driver's seat trying to figure out how to breathe again. What are you going to do? Cambria asks through my open window. That's the question, isn't it? What does a man do when he discovers that his wife has been planning to erase him from her life? When he finds out that the person he's been trying to build a future with has been shopping for a replacement? I don't know yet, I tell her, but I'll figure something out. I drive home through streets that look exactly the same as they did this morning, but feel completely different. Everything looks smaller somehow, like the whole world has shrunk down to fit inside the space between what I thought I knew and what I actually know. Our house sits on a quiet street in the kind of neighborhood where people still wave to each other and kids ride bikes without helmets. It's not much, a modest colonial that needs new gutters and a paint job, but it's ours. Or at least, I thought it was ours. I park in the driveway and sit there for a few minutes, looking at the house where I've spent the last 3 years trying to build something that apparently never existed. The flower beds Reina planted when we first moved in are overgrown now, choked with weeds she stopped caring about around the same time she stopped caring about everything else. Inside, the house feels hollow, not empty. All our stuff is still here, but hollow, like the life has been sucked out of it. I walk through the rooms, seeing them through new eyes. The couch where we used to watch movies together. The kitchen table where we used to eat breakfast and talk about our plans. The bedroom where we used to... I stop that line of thinking before it can take root. In the bedroom, I open Reina's closet and start looking for things I should have noticed before. It doesn't take long to find them. Hidden behind her winter coats, there's a suitcase I've never seen. Inside, lingerie that's definitely not for my benefit, receipts from restaurants I can't afford, hotel key cards from places we've never been together. And at the bottom, wrapped in tissue paper like some kind of treasure, a jewelry box containing a necklace that must have cost more than I make in a month. The card inside is signed S and dated 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago was our anniversary. The anniversary Reina said she forgot because work had been so stressful. I sit on the edge of our bed, holding the necklace and trying to remember the last time she looked at me the way she used to. The last time she touched me like she meant it. The last time she said my name without that little note of impatience creeping in. It's been months. Maybe longer. My phone buzzes. Text message from Reina. Session running longer than expected. Don't wait up. Love you. Love you. 3 little words that used to mean everything and now feel like a slap in the face. I text back, love you too. Because what else am I supposed to say? That I know she's lying? That I know she's upstairs in her boss's office planning our divorce while I sit here holding evidence of her betrayal? No, not yet. I put the necklace back where I found it, close the suitcase, and try to figure out what comes next. The smart thing would be to call a lawyer, start documenting everything, prepare for the inevitable conversation where she tells me she's found someone else and needs space to figure things out. But I've never been particularly smart about the things that matter. Instead, I go back to the garage and work on the Mustang until my hands stop shaking and my mind clears enough to think. The car doesn't judge me for being blind to what was happening in my own marriage. It doesn't care that I'm not successful enough or ambitious enough or whatever enough to keep my wife interested. It just needs me to fix what's broken, one piece at a time, and maybe that's exactly what I need to do. Sunday morning arrives gray and drizzling, the kind of weather that makes everything look tired. I'm up early, coffee in hand, watching the street wake up through the kitchen window when Reina finally comes home. She slips through the front door like she's trying not to disturb anything, her overnight bag clutched against her chest. When she sees me sitting at the kitchen table, she startles. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep." I take a sip of coffee and study her face. She looks guilty, but she's trying to hide it behind a mask of casual indifference. "How was your strategy session?" "Productive." She sets her bag down by the door and moves toward the coffee maker, not quite meeting my eyes. "Soren thinks there's real potential for expansion, new markets, new opportunities." "That's great. What kind of opportunities?" "Oh, corporate stuff. You'd probably find it boring." "Right. Because I'm too simple to understand the complexities of her sophisticated business world." "Try me." She pours coffee into her favorite mug, the one I bought her for her birthday 2 years ago, back when I still thought my gifts mattered to her. It's all very preliminary, nothing concrete yet. But promising enough to spend your entire Saturday working on it. That's what it takes, Porter. That's what success looks like. I know it's hard for you to understand, but some of us have bigger ambitions than fixing cars and installing security cameras for corner stores. There it is again, the casual cruelty disguised as honest observation. She's been doing this for months, little cuts designed to make me feel smaller, less significant, easier to discard when the time comes. "You're right," I say. "I probably wouldn't understand. I'm just a small-town security guard who peaked in high school." Something flickers across her face, surprise maybe, or recognition, but it's gone so quickly I might have imagined it. "I didn't say that." "No, you didn't. But Soren did." The coffee mug slips from her hands and shatters against the kitchen floor. Coffee spreads across the tile like a dark stain, and for a moment, neither of us moves. "What are you talking about?" Her voice is carefully controlled, but I can see the panic in her eyes. "I think you know exactly what I'm talking about." She kneels down and starts picking up pieces of broken ceramic, her hands shaking. "Porter, I don't know what you think you heard." "I heard enough." She stops cleaning and looks up at me, still kneeling on the floor surrounded by the wreckage of her lie. "You followed me." "I didn't have to follow you. I just had to pay attention." "So what now? Are you going to make some kind of scene? Threaten me? Storm into Soren's office and embarrass yourself?" The fact that she's more worried about me embarrassing myself than about our marriage tells me everything I need to know about where her priorities lie. "No," I say, "I'm not going to make a scene." She seems to relax slightly. "Good, because this doesn't have to be complicated, Porter. We can handle this like adults." "You mean like the adults you and Soren were being yesterday, planning my erasure while I sat at home working on my car?" "It's not like that. It's exactly like that." I stand up, leaving my coffee on the table. "But you're right about one thing. This doesn't have to be complicated." I walk toward the door, stepping carefully around the broken mug and spilled coffee. "Where are you going?" "Out. I need to think." "Porter, wait. We should talk about this." I pause at the door and look back at her. She's still kneeling on the floor, looking smaller than I've seen her in years. For just a moment, I remember the woman I fell in love with. The one who used to laugh at my jokes and curl up next to me on the couch and make me believe that maybe I was enough. But that woman is gone, if she ever really existed at all. There's nothing to talk about, Reina. You've already made your choice. I spend the rest of Sunday driving around town, thinking about choices and consequences and the difference between what people say and what they actually mean. By the time I get home, Reina's car is gone and there's a note on the kitchen table. Gone to my parents for a few days. We both need space to figure this out. Space. The universal code word for I'm preparing to leave you, but I want you to think it's a mutual decision. I crumple up the note and throw it away, then call Cambria. How are you holding up? She asks. I've been better. Listen, I need a favor. What kind of favor? The kind that might get you in trouble if anyone finds out. There's a pause. What do you need, Porter? Access logs for the past 6 months. I want to know how long this has been going on. Porter. I'm not asking you to do anything illegal. I just need to know what I'm dealing with. Another pause, longer this time. Okay, but not over the phone. Meet me at Murphy's bar at 8. Murphy's is the kind of place where nobody asks questions and everybody minds their own business. It's dark and loud and full of people who understand that sometimes you need to drink away the taste of disappointment. Cambria is already there when I arrive, sitting in a corner booth with a manila folder in front of her. She looks like she'd rather be anywhere else. This is everything I could pull without raising flags, she says, sliding the folder across the table. Access logs, security footage timestamps, even some email metadata I probably shouldn't have been able to access. I open the folder and start reading. The story it tells is worse than I imagined. The weekend session started 4 months ago, always Saturday mornings, always lasting 3 to 4 hours. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is the pattern of late-night access during the week. Reina staying after hours, Soren's car in the garage until well past midnight. How long do you think this has been going on? I ask. Based on the data, at least 4 months for the physical relationship. But the email patterns suggest they've been getting close for longer than that. How much longer? 8 months. Maybe more. 8 months. While I was planning our anniversary dinner and trying to figure out why she seemed so distant, she was falling in love with someone else. While I was working overtime to pay for the vacation she said she needed, she was planning a future that didn't include me. There's something else, Cambria says. The merger Soren mentioned? It's real. Meridian is being acquired by a New York firm. The deal closes in 6 weeks. And then they ride off into the sunset together. Looks that way. I close the folder and lean back in my seat. The bar is getting crowded now, filling up with people who are trying to forget their problems or celebrate their successes or just make it through another Sunday night. Normal people with normal problems. What are you going to do? Cambria asks. I don't know yet, but whatever it is, I want them to see it coming. Porter, be careful. Soren Valden isn't just some guy having an affair. He's got connections, money, influence. If you go after him directly, I'm not going to do anything stupid. Define stupid. That's a fair question. Right now, stupid feels like trusting my wife. Smart feels like making sure she understands exactly what she's throwing away. I need to make some calls, I tell her, starting with Reina's parents. Cambria winces. That's going to be ugly. Yeah, well, sometimes ugly is what the situation calls for. Hale and Arden Keller live in a colonial mansion on the hill overlooking the harbor, the kind of place that's designed to remind everyone else of their proper place in the social hierarchy. They've never liked me. I'm too working class, too rough around the edges, too obviously beneath their daughter's station. But they love Reina, and they have very strong opinions about proper behavior and family reputation. I call them from the parking lot outside Murphy's. Porter? Hale's voice is surprised. Is everything all right? Reina said you two were having some difficulties. That's one way to put it. I think you should know what kind of difficulties we're talking about. I'm not sure this is appropriate. She's having an affair with her boss, has been for months. I have documentation if you'd like to see it. The silence on the other end of the line stretches out so long I start to wonder if the call dropped. That's a very serious accusation, Hale finally says. It's not an accusation, it's a fact. Porter, I understand you're upset, but making wild claims. I have security footage of them entering his office together. I have access logs showing a pattern of after-hours meetings. I have hotel receipts and jewelry receipts and text messages. This isn't some paranoid fantasy, Hale. This is your daughter planning to divorce me so she can run off to New York with her boss. Another long silence. We'll speak with Reina, he says finally. You do that, and when you do, ask her about the merger. Ask her about the New York position. Ask her about the necklace. I hang up and sit in my truck, watching people go in and out of the bar. Normal people having normal Sunday nights. People whose wives aren't planning to erase them from existence. My phone buzzes. Text from Reina. What did you do? I text back. I told the truth. You had no right. I had every right. I'm still your husband, remember? The three dots appear and disappear several times like she's typing and deleting responses. Finally, we need to talk. Now you want to talk? Tomorrow, lunch, neutral location. Fine, Murphy's Bar, noon. Somewhere more appropriate. Of course. Can't have the neighbors seeing her slumming it with the help. The Riverside Cafe then, noon. Fine. I drive home through empty streets, past houses where families are settling in for the night, where husbands and wives are probably having normal conversations about normal things, work schedules and grocery lists and what to watch on television. Simple problems with simple solutions. At home, I pour myself a drink and sit in my garage, looking at the Mustang. It's almost finished now, just a few more tweaks to the engine, some final bodywork, and it'll be perfect. Better than new. The irony isn't lost on me. I can fix a car that's been sitting in a junkyard for 20 years, but I can't fix a marriage that's been broken for 8 months, maybe because the car wanted to be fixed. My phone rings. Cambria. I just got a call from building management, she says. Someone complained about unauthorized access to the executive floor yesterday. Someone named Soren? Someone named Soren. He's demanding to know who gave you access and threatening to have me fired if it happens again. I'm sorry, Cam. I didn't mean to drag you into this. I dragged myself into this, but Porter, he's serious. He's got enough pull to make my life very difficult. Then we'll have to make his life more difficult than he can make yours. What does that mean? I'm not sure yet, but I'm working on it. After I hang up, I sit in the quiet garage and think about power. Soren has money, connections, influence. He has the ability to destroy people's careers with a phone call, to reshape reality to suit his needs. But power isn't just about money and connections. Sometimes it's about knowing things other people don't want you to know. Sometimes it's about being willing to do things other people aren't willing to do. And sometimes it's about understanding that when someone takes something from you, they've given you permission to take something back. I finish my drink and head inside to start making plans. The Riverside Cafe sits on the waterfront, all exposed brick and reclaimed wood, the kind of place that charges $15 for a sandwich and calls it artisanal. It's exactly the sort of spot Reina would choose for a conversation she wants to control, public enough to prevent a scene, upscale enough to remind me of my place. I arrive 10 minutes early and choose a table by the window where I can watch the harbor. The lunch crowd is starting to filter in. Business types in expensive suits, tourists with cameras, locals who can afford to eat somewhere that puts truffle oil on everything. Reina arrives exactly on time because punctuality is one of her weapons. She's dressed for battle in a charcoal gray suit that probably cost more than my mortgage payment. her hair pulled back in a style that makes her look older, more serious, more untouchable. She slides into the seat across from me without smiling. "You look good," I say, because it's true, and because I know it will annoy her. Don't. Don't what? Notice that my wife is beautiful, even when she's about to divorce me? The waitress approaches, young and eager, and completely oblivious to the tension radiating from our table. Reina orders a salad that costs $22. I order coffee. "You're not eating?" "I'm not hungry." She folds her hands on the table and looks at me with the kind of professional composure she probably uses in board meetings. "My parents called last night. I figured they would. They're very upset. They should be. Their daughter is having an affair. They're upset with you, Porter, for spreading malicious gossip about their family." I lean back in my chair and study her face. She's good at this. The righteous indignation, the subtle shift of blame, the way she's making me the villain in a story where she's the one who broke our marriage vows. Malicious gossip. Is that what we're calling it? What would you call it? The truth. Her salad arrives. $22 worth of organic greens and artisanal cheese, arranged like a piece of modern art. She picks at it without enthusiasm. "The truth is more complicated than you think," she says. "Enlighten me." "We've been growing apart for months, Porter. You know that. We want different things. We're moving in different directions. What happened with Soren, it's a symptom, not the cause." What happened with Soren? That's an interesting way to describe 8 months of lying to my face. She sets down her fork and looks at me directly for the first time since she sat down. "How long have you known?" "Does it matter?" "It matters to me. I've suspected for weeks. I've known for sure since Saturday." "And what do you plan to do with that knowledge?" There's something in her tone that makes me pause. Not guilt or shame or regret. Calculation. She's trying to figure out how much damage I can do, how much this is going to cost her. "That depends on what you plan to do." "I plan to file for divorce. Quietly, amicably, with as little drama as possible. We'll divide our assets fairly, and we'll both move on with our lives." "And Soren? What about him? Is he part of the moving on?" She hesitates just long enough to confirm what I already know. "That's not relevant to our situation." "It's relevant to me." "Why?" "Because your ego can't handle the fact that I found someone who can give me what you can't? And there it is. The real Reina, the one who's been hiding behind politeness and excuses for months. The one who looks at me and sees failure, limitation, disappointment. What is it I can't give you? Ambition, vision, a future that's bigger than this town, bigger than your small dreams and smaller expectations." "I see. And Soren can give you all that?" "Soren understands what I need. He sees my potential." "Your potential for what? Being his mistress?" Her face flushes, the first genuine emotion she's shown since she sat down. "It's not like that." "It's exactly like that. You think he's going to leave his wife for you? You think a man who cheats with his employee is going to suddenly become trustworthy when it comes to you? He's not married. He's not married now. But he was 6 months ago when this started. I did some research, Reina. His divorce was finalized in February, right around the time you started working late." The flush deepens. "You don't know what you're talking about. I know that you're not the first employee he's had an affair with. I know that his last assistant got a very generous severance package when she left the company suddenly last year. I know that there's a pattern here, and you're just the latest iteration." She's staring at me now, and I can see the doubt creeping in around the edges of her certainty. "You're lying." "Am I? Ask him about Jennifer Martinez. Ask him about the settlement his company paid to keep her quiet." "I'm not lying, but I'm not telling the whole truth either. I spent yesterday afternoon making phone calls, following leads, putting together pieces of a puzzle that's bigger than just my marriage. Soren Valden is a predator, and Reina is his current prey. The fact that she can't see it doesn't make it less true. Even if that's true, it doesn't change anything between us, she says, but her voice lacks the conviction it had a few minutes ago. Doesn't it? You're throwing away 6 years of marriage for a man who has a history of discarding women when he's done with them. That seems like something you should know. She pushes her salad away, barely touched. What do you want, Porter? I want my wife back. That's not possible. Why? Because you've already decided I'm not good enough? Because you've already written me off as a mistake you made when you were young and didn't know any better? She flinches. You heard that. I heard a lot of things. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. How did you mean it? She doesn't answer, which is an answer in itself. I lean forward, lowering my voice. Here's what's going to happen, Reina. You're going to go back to work tomorrow, and you're going to end whatever this is with Soren. You're going to come home, and we're going to try to fix what's broken between us. Or what? Or I'm going to make sure everyone in this town knows exactly what kind of man your boss is and exactly what kind of woman you've become. Her eyes narrow. Are you threatening me? I'm giving you a choice. The same choice you gave me, except I'm doing you the courtesy of letting you know about it in advance. She stands up abruptly, throwing her napkin down on the table. This isn't over. No, it's not. But it's going to end one way or another. She leaves without another word, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor like a countdown timer. I sit there for a few more minutes, drinking my coffee and watching boats move across the harbor. The waitress comes by with the check. Everything okay here? Just fine, I tell her. Sometimes you have to let people know where you stand. I pay for lunch and walk outside into the afternoon sun. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Stay away from my office and stay away from my business. This is your only warning. Soren, apparently, has gotten the message that I'm not going to disappear quietly. I text back, or what? The response comes immediately. Or you'll find out what happens to people who try to interfere with things that are bigger than they are. I almost laugh. He thinks this is about business, about corporate politics, about things that are bigger than me. He doesn't understand that this is about the smallest, most personal thing in the world. A man's marriage, a woman's betrayal, and the question of what happens when someone takes something that doesn't belong to them. I drive home and spend the afternoon in my garage, putting the finishing touches on the Mustang. The engine purrs like it was born yesterday, all that careful work finally paying off. It's beautiful, not perfect, but honest. Built to last, built to be reliable, built by someone who understands that some things are worth the effort it takes to make them right. Around 5 o'clock, I get a call from Mackie Doyle. Porter, you son of a gun, how the hell are you? Mackie and I served together in Afghanistan, back when the world was simpler and enemies wore uniforms and you knew who was shooting at you. He's been running an underground boxing club since he got back, nothing fancy, just a place where guys can work out their frustrations with their fists instead of their mouths. I've been better, Mac. What's up? Heard through the grapevine that you're having some domestic troubles. Thought you might want to come by the gym, hit the heavy bag, talk about it. Who told you that? This is a small town, brother. Word gets around, especially when it involves fancy office buildings and security cameras. Right. Cambria probably mentioned something to someone who mentioned something to someone else. In a town this size, secrets have a half-life of about 24 hours. I'll be there in an hour. The gym is in the basement of an old warehouse near the docks, the kind of place that doesn't advertise and doesn't need to. The guys who train here know where to find it, and the guys who don't belong here know to stay away. Mackie meets me at the door, looking exactly the same as he did 10 years ago, compact, muscular, with the kind of eyes that have seen too much but haven't given up hope yet. You look like hell, he says by way of greeting. Feel worse? Come on, let's see if we can fix that. The gym is busy for a Monday evening. A dozen guys working out their various demons on heavy bags and speed bags and each other. It's loud and sweaty and honest. Everything my marriage isn't. Mackie hands me a pair of gloves and points toward an empty heavy bag. Tell me about it. I spend the next hour hitting things and talking, and by the time I'm done, both my hands and my head feel clearer. So what's the plan? Mackie asks as we're cooling down. I'm still working on that. Need any help? What kind of help? He grins, and for a moment I can see the 20-year-old soldier who used to get us into trouble in Kandahar. The kind that involves reminding certain people that actions have consequences. Mac, I'm not talking about anything illegal, Porter. I'm talking about making sure this Soren guy understands that you're not some pushover he can intimidate with fancy lawyers and corporate connections. And how would we do that? By showing him that you've got connections of your own. Different kind of connections, but connections all the same. I look around the gym at the faces I recognize, mechanics and construction workers and dock workers and guys who've been in the service and guys who've been in prison and guys who understand that sometimes the world doesn't play fair, so you have to make your own justice. I'll think about it. You do that. And Porter? Whatever you decide, you don't have to do it alone. I drive home through the gathering dusk, thinking about connections and consequences and the difference between justice and revenge. Reina's car is in the driveway when I get there, which surprises me. I figured she'd spend another night at her parents' house, regrouping and strategizing. Instead, she's sitting at the kitchen table with a stack of papers in front of her. Divorce papers, I ask. Separation agreement. I had my lawyer draw it up this afternoon. I sit down across from her and look at the papers without picking them up. That was fast. I don't see any point in dragging this out. What about our conversation at lunch? What about ending things with Soren? She looks at me with something that might be pity. Porter, that was never going to happen. I thought you understood that. I understood that you were making a mistake. I thought you might want the chance to fix it. The mistake was thinking this could work in the first place. We're too different. We want too many different things. It's better for both of us if we just admit that and move on. I pick up the papers and scan through them. It's all very civilized, very fair, very designed to make this seem like a mutual decision between two reasonable adults. You keep the house, I note. I'm keeping the mortgage too. And you get your car and your tools and your retirement account. It's equitable. What about the business? What business? My security consulting business, the one I built while you were building your career. Porter, you install alarm systems for corner stores. That's not a business, it's a hobby. And there it is again. The casual dismissal, the automatic assumption that anything I do is somehow less important, less valuable, less real than what she does. Sign the papers, Porter. Don't make this harder than it has to be. I set the papers down and look at her. Really look at her. Maybe for the first time in months. She's still beautiful, still poised, still everything I thought I wanted when I married her. But there's something missing now. Something I can't quite name. What if I don't sign them? Then we'll do this the hard way. Lawyers, depositions, public hearings. Is that really what you want? What I want is my wife back. That's not an option anymore. I stand up and walk to the window, looking out at the street where we used to walk together in the evenings, back when we still had things to talk about. When did you stop loving me, Reina? The question hangs in the air between us for a long moment. I don't know, she says finally. Maybe I never did. Maybe I just loved the idea of you, the idea of us, the idea of building something together. But ideas aren't enough to sustain a marriage. And Soren? Is he an idea too? Soren is a future, a real future with real possibilities. A future built on lies and betrayal. A future built on honesty about what we both want. I turn back to face her. And what do you want? More than this. More than small-town life and small-town dreams and small-town limitations. More than me. More than you can give me. It's the most honest thing she's said to me in months, maybe years, and it hurts worse than all the lies combined. I'll look at the papers, I tell her. Thank you. But I'm not signing them tonight. I need time to think. How much time? A few days, maybe a week. She nods and starts gathering up the papers. I'll be staying at my parents' until this is resolved. Probably for the best. She pauses at the door, looking back at me with something that might be regret. For what it's worth, I am sorry it worked out this way. No, you're not. You're sorry it's messy and complicated and not going according to your plan, but you're not sorry it's happening. She doesn't deny it, which tells me everything I need to know. After she leaves, I sit in the empty house and think about futures and possibilities and the difference between what people say they want and what they actually do to get it. Then I call Mackie. Change of plans, I tell him. I think I'm going to need that help after all. Mackie's gym looks different at night. Quieter, more serious, like a church where the religion is sweat and the sacrament is pain. There are only 6 guys here tonight, but I recognize the type. Men who've learned that sometimes the world doesn't give you what you deserve, so you have to take it. Gentlemen, Mackie says, addressing the group, I'd like you to meet Porter Keller. Some of you might know him. He does security work around town. Porter's got a problem, and I think it's the kind of problem we can help with. I look around the circle of faces. There's Tommy Breslin, who used to work construction until a workplace accident left him with a permanent limp and a lawsuit that's been tied up in court for 3 years. There's Ray Santos, whose small trucking business got destroyed when a corporate client decided not to pay their bills and had enough lawyers to make fighting it impossible. There's Eddie Chen, whose restaurant got shut down by health inspectors who seemed remarkably motivated after he refused to pay protection money to the wrong people. These are men who understand what it means to get stepped on by people with more power, more money, more connections. What's the situation? Tommy asks. I tell them about Reina, about Soren, about the casual way they discussed erasing me from existence. I tell them about the divorce papers and the separation agreement and the assumption that I'll just disappear quietly when it's convenient for them. So, what do you want to do about it? Ray asks. I want them to understand that I'm not going to disappear. I want them to know that actions have consequences, and I want them to realize that they're not as untouchable as they think they are. Eddie leans forward. You talking about getting even or getting ahead? What's the difference? Getting even means you hurt them the same way they hurt you. Getting ahead means you come out better than when you started. I think about that for a moment. Both. Mackie grins. Now you're talking. What do we know about this Soren character? I pull out my phone and show them the research I've been doing. Soren Valden, 44 years old, CEO of Meridian Marketing Solutions. Divorced 6 months ago, lives in a penthouse downtown, drives a Tesla, works out at an exclusive gym, eats at expensive restaurants, belongs to the country club. Guy's got a routine, Ray observes. That's good. Predictable people are vulnerable people. What about security? Tommy asks. Building security at his office, but nothing special at his apartment. Doorman, but it's not like Fort Knox. And your wife? Staying at her parents' house, big colonial on Elm Street, lots of privacy, probably thinks she's safe there. Mackie stands up and starts pacing, which means he's thinking. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make their lives complicated. Not illegal, not dangerous, just complicated. What does that mean? It means we're going to remind them that they live in the real world, with real people and real consequences. Eddie, you still got contacts at the health department. Eddie nods. My cousin works there. Good. Ray, what about the trucking authority? I know some guys. Tommy, you still tight with the building inspectors? Tight enough. I'm starting to understand where this is going. You want to make his business life difficult. Business, personal, social, the whole package. See, guys like Soren, they live in a bubble. Everything's smooth, everything's handled, everything's taken care of by other people. But bubbles are fragile things. And if the bubble pops, then he has to deal with the real world like the rest of us. And I'm betting he's not as good at that as he thinks he is. We spend the next hour planning. Nothing illegal, nothing that can be traced back to us, just a series of inconveniences and complications that will make Soren's life less comfortable and more stressful. Building inspections at his office, health department visits to the restaurants he frequents, parking tickets on his Tesla, anonymous complaints about noise from his penthouse. Small things, but persistent things. "What about your wife?" Eddie asks. "What about her? You want her back or you want her to pay?" It's a good question, and I'm not sure I know the answer. I want her to understand what she's giving up. Then we don't go after her directly. We go after her new life, her new future, her new possibilities. We make her realize that running away with Prince Charming isn't going to solve her problems. How? Mackie sits back down, his expression serious. By making sure everyone knows exactly what kind of man she's chosen over you. The next morning, I wake up feeling more energized than I have in weeks. For the first time since this started, I have a plan. More than that, I have allies. My phone buzzes with a text from Reina. "Have you looked at the papers yet?" I text back, "Still thinking." "There's nothing to think about, Porter. This is happening whether you cooperate or not." "We'll see." I spend the morning at my office, a small space above a hardware store that I rent month to month. It's not much, but it's mine. I've got 3 security consultations scheduled this week, 2 alarm installations, and a background check for a local business owner who's thinking about hiring someone with a questionable past. It's honest work, steady work, work that matters to the people who hire me. Maybe it's not as glamorous as whatever Reina does in her glass tower, but it serves a purpose. Around noon, Cambria calls. "You need to know something," she says without preamble. "Soren's been asking questions about you, about your business, your background, your financial situation." "What kind of questions?" "The kind that suggest he's planning something. Porter, I think he's going to try to destroy you professionally." "How?" "I don't know yet, but he's been making calls, talking to people, gathering information, and he's got the resources to make your life very difficult if he wants to." I think about my conversation with the guys last night, about bubbles and consequences, and the difference between getting even and getting ahead. Let him try. Porter, I'm serious, Cam. Let him try. I'm not the same guy I was a week ago. What does that mean? It means I'm done being the victim in this story. That afternoon, I get my first indication that the plan is working. Soren's office building gets an unexpected visit from the fire marshal, who finds several code violations that need to be addressed immediately. Nothing major, nothing dangerous, just the kind of bureaucratic hassles that cost time and money and patience. An hour later, the health department shows up at the upscale restaurant where Soren likes to take his lunch meetings. They find some minor issues with food storage temperatures that require the restaurant to close for the rest of the day. By evening, Soren's Tesla has 3 parking tickets, and his penthouse building has received noise complaints from multiple neighbors. My phone rings around 8 o'clock. Unknown number. "You think you're clever?" Soren's voice is tight with anger. "I think I'm learning." "Learning what?" "That you're not as untouchable as you pretend to be." This is harassment. This is Tuesday. Wait until you see what the rest of the week looks like. "I'm warning you." "No, I'm warning you. You took something that belonged to me. Now you get to find out what that costs." I hang up and immediately call Mackie. "He's rattled," I report. "Good. Rattled people make mistakes. What about your wife?" "Haven't heard from her today." "You will. When Prince Charming starts looking less charming, she's going to start having second thoughts." "And if she doesn't?" "Then we escalate." Wednesday brings more complications for Soren. The city planning office decides to review the permits for his office renovation. The IRS sends him a letter requesting documentation for his business expenses. His gym membership gets suspended due to a computer error that will take several days to resolve. Small things, annoying things, the kind of things that happen to everyone eventually, but not usually all at once. Thursday, Reina calls. "What are you doing?" she demands. "What do you mean?" "Soren's having problems at work, inspections, permits, bureaucratic nonsense. It's affecting the merger." "That's unfortunate." "Porter, if you're behind this..." "Behind what? Bad luck? Bureaucratic incompetence? The normal frustrations of doing business in a regulated environment?" "This isn't a game." "You're right. It's not a game. Games have rules, and everyone agrees to play by them. This is something else." "What do you want?" "I want you to come home." "That's not going to happen." "Then I want you to understand that walking away from our marriage has consequences. For both of you." She hangs up, but I can hear the doubt in her voice. The certainty she had on Monday is starting to crack. Friday afternoon, I'm installing a security system for a small grocery store when Cambria calls. "Soren's hired a private investigator," she says. "Professional guy, former cop, very thorough. He's been asking questions about you around town." "What kind of questions?" "Your finances, your business practices, your military record, your personal life. He's looking for something he can use against you." "And what's he finding?" "Nothing. You're clean, Porter. Boring, but clean." That must be frustrating for him. I think it is. But Porter, be careful. When guys like Soren can't find dirt, sometimes they try to create it. "What does that mean?" "It means watch your back, and maybe consider backing off before this gets out of hand." I finish the installation and drive home, thinking about private investigators and created dirt and the difference between being careful and being scared. At home, there's a car in my driveway I don't recognize. Expensive, black, the kind of car that's designed to intimidate. I park on the street and walk up to my front door, where two men in suits are waiting for me. "Mr. Keller?" "That's me." The taller one pulls out a badge. "I'm Detective Morrison. This is Detective Hayes. We'd like to ask you some questions." "About what?" "About some complaints we've received. Harassment, intimidation, possible stalking." I unlock my front door and gesture for them to come in. "Would you like some coffee?" They decline, but they follow me into the kitchen where I make myself a cup and try to look like a man who has nothing to hide. "Mr. Keller, do you know a man named Soren Valden?" "I know who he is." "Have you had any contact with him recently?" "Define contact." Detective Morrison pulls out a notebook. "Phone calls, text messages, emails, visits to his workplace or residence." "I've exchanged a few text messages with him. Nothing threatening, nothing inappropriate." "What about visits to his workplace?" "I visited my wife at her workplace last weekend. Mr. Valden works in the same building." "And have you had any involvement in the various inspections and complaints that have been filed against Mr. Valden's business this week?" I take a sip of coffee and look at both detectives. They're professionals, doing their job, but they're also fishing. If they had real evidence, they wouldn't be asking vague questions. "Detective, I install security systems for small businesses. I don't have the connections or influence to coordinate multiple government agencies to harass anyone. But you do have connections in the community." "I know people, sure. This is a small town." Detective Hayes speaks for the first time. "Mr. Keller, we understand you're going through a difficult divorce. Separation. And yes, it's difficult. Sometimes when people are under stress, they make poor decisions. They do things they wouldn't normally do." "Like what?" "Like trying to get revenge on people they blame for their problems." I set down my coffee cup and look at both men. "Detectives, I appreciate that you're doing your job. But if Mr. Valden has a complaint against me, he should file it officially. If he has evidence that I've done something illegal, he should present it. If he's just frustrated that his life isn't going as smoothly as he'd like, well, that's not really a police matter, is it? They exchange glances. Mr. Keller, Morrison says, we're going to give you some free advice. Whatever's going on between you and Mr. Valden, find a way to resolve it that doesn't involve us having to come back here. I appreciate the advice. After they leave, I call Mackie. We need to be more careful, I tell him. They don't have anything, but they're looking. Want to back off? I think about Reina's phone call, about the doubt in her voice, about the cracks in her certainty. No, but we need to be smarter about it. What do you have in mind? It's time to go public. Saturday morning finds me sitting in the parking lot of the Riverside Cafe, watching the weekend crowd filter in for their artisanal coffee and overpriced pastries. I'm waiting for Jennifer Martinez, the former Meridian employee who received that generous severance package last year. It took me 3 days to track her down, and another 2 to convince her to meet with me. She's working at a small marketing firm in the next town over now, keeping her head down, trying to rebuild her career after whatever happened with Soren. She arrives 10 minutes late, a small woman in her early 30s with tired eyes and the kind of careful posture that suggests she's been hurt and doesn't want it to happen again. Mr. Keller? Porter, thank you for meeting with me. We find a quiet table in the back corner, away from the Saturday morning gossip crowd. She orders tea, I order coffee, and we spend a few minutes making small talk about the weather and the harbor view. So, she says finally, you said on the phone that you wanted to talk about Soren Valden. My wife works for him, or worked for him. It's complicated. It always is with Soren. What happened between you two? She stirs her tea for a long moment, deciding how much to tell me. The official story is that I left to pursue other opportunities. The real story is that I was fired for refusing to sleep with him. And the severance package? Was their way of making sure I didn't talk about it. Non-disclosure agreement, non-compete clause, the whole package. I signed it because I needed the money and couldn't afford to fight them. But you're talking to me now. Because you said your wife is involved with him, and I don't want to see another woman get destroyed by that man. She tells me the story. How Soren started with small favors and compliments, how he gradually escalated to inappropriate comments and unwanted touching, how he made it clear that her career advancement depended on her willingness to accommodate his interests. I held out for 6 months, she says. I thought I could handle it professionally, set boundaries, make it work, but he doesn't respect boundaries. He sees them as challenges. What finally happened? He cornered me in his office after a company party, made it very clear what he expected, what would happen to my career if I refused. I told him no, and 2 weeks later I was fired for performance issues that had never been mentioned before. And you couldn't fight it? With what? His word against mine, and he's the CEO. I was a mid-level employee with student loans and rent to pay. The settlement was enough to keep me quiet and get me out of town. But not enough to make you forget. No, not enough for that. I lean forward. What if I told you there might be a way to make sure he doesn't do this to anyone else? I'd say you don't understand how much power he has. Maybe. But I'm learning that power isn't just about money and connections. Sometimes it's about information and timing and knowing how to use both. She studies my face. What are you planning? Nothing illegal, nothing that violates your NDA. Just making sure the right people know the right things at the right time. And what do you need from me? Names. Other women he's done this to. People who might be willing to talk, even if they can't do it officially. She thinks about it for a long moment. There are 3 others that I know of. Maybe more. Will you give me their names? I'll give you their names. But Porter, be careful. Soren Valden has destroyed careers for less than what you're planning. He's already destroyed my marriage. What else can he take? Sunday afternoon, I'm in my garage working on the Mustang when Reina shows up. She looks tired, stressed, not quite as polished as usual. "We need to talk," she says. "I'm listening." "Soren's having problems at work. The merger is in jeopardy because of all the regulatory issues that have come up this week. That's unfortunate. Porter, I know you're behind this." I set down my wrench and look at her. Behind what? Being a concerned citizen who reports code violations when I see them? Don't play games with me. I'm not playing games, I'm playing for keeps. She leans against the workbench, and for a moment she looks like the woman I married, vulnerable, uncertain, human. "What do you want?" she asks. "I want you to understand what you're giving up. I want you to see Soren for what he really is. And I want you to come home." The first two might be possible. The third isn't. Why not? Because too much has happened. Too much has been said. We can't go back to the way things were. I'm not asking to go back. I'm asking to go forward. Together. She shakes her head. It's too late for that. Is it? Or are you just afraid that admitting you made a mistake will make you look weak? I didn't make a mistake, Porter. I made a choice. Based on lies. Soren isn't who you think he is. And who is he? I tell her about Jennifer Martinez, about the pattern of harassment, about the other women who've been hurt by the man she thinks is going to save her from her small-town life. She listens without interrupting, but I can see the doubt growing in her eyes. Even if that's true, she says finally, it doesn't change what's broken between us. What's broken between us can be fixed. What's broken about him can't be. You don't know that. I know that a man who treats his employees the way he's treated those women isn't going to treat his mistress any better. You're not special to him, Reina. You're just convenient. She flinches like I've slapped her. You don't know anything about our relationship. I know he's married. He's divorced. He filed for divorce 6 months ago. The papers were finalized in February, right around the time you started working late. So he was still married when this started. You weren't the reason his marriage ended, you were the symptom, and if he'll cheat with you, he'll cheat on you. She's quiet for a long moment, staring at the concrete floor of the garage. It doesn't matter, she says finally. Even if you're right about him, it doesn't change the fact that we're wrong for each other. Are we? Or have we just forgotten how to be right for each other? Porter, give me 1 month. What? 1 month. Don't sign any papers. Don't make any permanent decisions. Give us 1 month to see if we can remember why we fell in love in the first place. And what about Soren? What about him? You want me to just stop seeing him? I want you to take a step back and really look at what you're choosing. Not just the promises and the possibilities, but the reality of who he is and what he does to people. She considers this. And if I do that, you'll stop whatever campaign you're running against him? I'll consider it. That's not good enough. It's the best I can do. He took something from me, Reina. He doesn't get to do that without consequences. And what about what I took from you? You haven't taken anything yet. You've made some bad choices, but you haven't made them permanent. Yet. She looks around the garage, at the tools and the car and the evidence of all the hours I've spent out here working with my hands, building something, fixing something, making something better. 1 month, she says finally. 1 month. But I'm not moving back in. I'll stay at my parents' house. Fine. And I want you to promise me that you won't do anything to hurt Soren professionally. I can't promise that. Then there's no deal. I think about Jennifer Martinez, about the other women whose names she gave me, about the pattern of behavior that's going to continue until someone stops it. I promise I won't do anything to hurt him professionally that he hasn't already done to himself. What does that mean? It means if his business practices can't stand up to scrutiny, that's his problem, not mine. She doesn't like it, but she nods. 1 month, Porter. But if things don't change, really change, then this ends permanently. Understood. After she leaves, I sit in the garage and think about second chances and last chances and the difference between forgiveness and justice. Then I call the reporter from the local newspaper who's been investigating corporate misconduct in the city. Ms. Patterson, this is Porter Keller. I think I have a story you might be interested in. Monday morning brings the first real test of our arrangement. The newspaper runs a front-page story about harassment allegations at local businesses, featuring anonymous accounts from several women who've experienced inappropriate behavior from supervisors and executives. Soren isn't named in the article, but anyone who knows the local business community will be able to connect the dots. The story mentions a marketing firm, a recent merger, and a pattern of behavior that spans several years. My phone rings at 9 o'clock. "You son of a dog!" Soren's voice is shaking with rage. "I promised I wouldn't do anything to hurt you professionally that you hadn't already done to yourself. Those women's stories, those are your choices, your actions, your consequences. This will destroy the merger. Maybe your company will implement better policies and procedures to prevent this kind of thing from happening in the future. You have no idea what you've done. I've given those women a voice. I've made sure the community knows what kind of man you really are, and I've shown my wife what she's really choosing when she chooses you. This isn't over. No, it's not. But it's moving in a different direction now." I hang up and immediately call Cambria. "How bad is it over there?" I ask. "Bad. Emergency board meeting this morning, lawyers everywhere, damage control in full swing. The merger company is asking a lot of questions." "And Soren?" "Locked in his office, making phone calls, trying to figure out how to contain this." "What about Reina?" "She came in this morning, but she left after an hour. Looked pretty shaken." That afternoon, Reina shows up at my office. "The story in the paper," she says without preamble. "What about it?" "Was that you?" "That was those women finally getting the chance to tell their stories." "But you arranged it?" "I facilitated it." She sits down in the chair across from my desk, looking smaller than I've seen her in years. "Is it true?" she asks quietly. "Which part?" "All of it. The harassment, the pattern, the other women." "Yes." She's quiet for a long moment, staring at her hands. "I feel like such a fool," she says finally. "You're not a fool. You're a woman who got manipulated by a man who's very good at manipulation." "How did I not see it?" "Because he didn't want you to see it. Because he's had practice hiding it. Because he told you what you wanted to hear and made you feel special and important and valued." "But it was all a lie." "Not all of it. I'm sure he does find you attractive, intelligent, capable. But his interest in you was never about building a future together. It was about having power over you." She looks up at me. "How did you figure it out?" "Because I know what it looks like when someone sees your value and wants to build something with you. And I know what it looks like when someone sees your vulnerability and wants to exploit it." "And which one were you?" "I was the first one. I'm still the first one." She starts crying then. Not the careful, controlled tears of someone who's worried about her makeup, but the raw, ugly tears of someone whose world has just collapsed around her. I come around the desk and kneel beside her chair, not touching her, but close enough that she knows I'm there. "I'm so sorry, Porter. I'm so sorry for all of it." "I know. How can you forgive me?" "Because I love you. Because I understand how it happened. And because I believe people can change if they want to badly enough. What if I can't? What if I'm too broken, too selfish, too damaged? Then we'll figure it out together. That's what marriage is supposed to be. Two people helping each other become better than they could be alone." She looks at me through her tears. "Do you really think we can fix this?" "I think we can try, and I think trying is worth it." She nods and wipes her eyes. "What happens now?" "Now we take it one day at a time. We remember why we fell in love. We figure out how to trust each other again. and we build something new from what's left of what we had. And Soren? Soren is going to have to deal with the consequences of his choices, just like we're going to have to deal with the consequences of ours. That evening, the local news runs a follow-up story about the harassment allegations. This time, 2 of the women agree to go on camera, their faces obscured, but their voices clear and strong. Jennifer Martinez is one of them. I stayed quiet for a year, she says, because I was afraid of what would happen if I spoke up. But staying quiet just enabled him to hurt other people. I hope that by speaking up now, I can prevent that from happening again. The story also mentions that the merger between Meridian Marketing and the New York firm has been postponed pending a thorough investigation into the company's workplace practices. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. This is war. I text back, "No, this is justice. There's a difference." The response comes immediately. "You'll find out the difference when I'm done with you." I forward the text to Detective Morrison with a note. "Thought you should see this." Then I call Mackie. "How do you feel about providing some security consulting?" I ask. "What kind of security?" "The kind that makes sure desperate men don't do anything stupid." "I'll be right over." As I wait for Mackie to arrive, I look around my small office and think about the difference between winning and being right. For the first time in weeks, I feel like maybe I can be both. Outside my window, the sun is setting over the harbor, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. It's beautiful, peaceful, the kind of view that reminds you why you choose to stay in a place even when other places might offer more opportunities. Some things are worth fighting for. Some things are worth the effort it takes to make them right. And sometimes, if you're very lucky and very determined, you get the chance to prove that small-town dreams and small-town values are bigger and stronger than the people who try to dismiss them. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new complications, new tests of whether Reina and I can really rebuild what we've broken. But tonight, for the first time in months, I have hope. And hope, it turns out, is a pretty powerful thing.